Welcome to Psyched for Careers, the career show for the psychology program here at UW Green Bay. I'm Ryan Martin, chair of the psychology program.
And I'm Chris Vespia. I'm a faculty member here in psychology and human development.
All right, and today, this is our first episode of 2015. We're actually going to tackle the same topic that we covered in Psyched for Graduate School, except we're going to do that with a focus on getting that first job, and that topic is interviews. So Chris, first of all, I guess there's so much to cover with this topic. We're probably going to have to do a couple of episodes dedicated to it, which I think is great. But I guess I wanted to start out with being kind of what's an important tip? Like what's the thing that you would tell students, or a thing that you would tell students about the interview?
You know, if I had to give just one tip, and clearly there are more, it would be study. Study for your interviews. And that's something we think about studying for exams, and we hope that when we graduate that we don't have to study anymore, but really you have to study for your interviews. What are you going to study? You have to study up on the organization, would be one thing, to learn more about what is its mission, what is its business philosophy, if it's a business, what kind of clientele do they serve, and who are those individuals within the community that they're located, what are some issues that they may be facing, but you also have to study the actual topic of what they do. So let's say, for example, that you're going to interview at a homeless shelter. You want to be learning something about homelessness, and homelessness in general, but also homelessness in Green Bay, if that's where the organization is located. Because you're not just going to be asked, in many cases, questions about yourself. You might be asked an interview question such as, what do you think are some of the most helpful interventions to deal with homelessness in a community? Or what do you see as some of those issues here in Green Bay?
Well, even if you're not asked, being able to offer that information up as part of one of your answers really suggests that you know what you're doing and know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So, okay, great. So an important part of studying is going to be kind of prepping questions. And I will admit, and I said this during the other one, I'm not particularly good at this. And so give me a sense, how would you suggest that, for people like me, who this doesn't really come naturally to, how would you suggest people kind of prep those questions?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Questions. That's awesome.
I nailed it.
It's great.
All right, I'm getting better already.
You know, it is important to, that's part of your studying. You've got to prepare questions, because there is going to be a time when the interviewer is likely to look at you and say, what questions do you have for me? And what I think a lot of people forget is that this too is an opportunity to shine and to separate yourself from other candidates and to show off your knowledge a little bit. And so you might be able, for example, now that you've studied for your interview, to say, you know, I noticed that your mission is blah.
Right.
Please don't say blah. But I notice your mission is this. How do you see the person in this position fitting into that organizational mission? Wow. Okay, not only does that sound like a really good question, but it also sounds like an informed question. And you sound like a candidate who's really interested in that job. In terms of coming up with those questions, you probably haven't had to do that before.
Right.
And so, you know, there are websites where you can certainly find sample questions. I would also talk with career services. I would talk with faculty members. Do some networking with people who've graduated recently and have gone through interviews. Those can be great ideas. And I would also suggest prop today. Lovely little Padfolio, this is called. I would actually type out your questions, because for one thing, you'll be nervous and you'll forget them. For another, it's going to make you look prepared, particularly if they're nicely typed out. And you want to have something that you can write on. You want to, be looking professional anyway. So that's the approach I might take.
What I love about the example you gave, I know your mission is, tell me about, is that it says that you did your homework. One of the concerns I have when people ask questions is, one of the kind of big red flags, and we talked about this before, is the idea if you ask questions that you should know the answer to, right? So if you were to say, how many people do you serve in an average year, right? But that's already on the website. Well, now it looks like you just didn't do your homework. And so that's a great way of showing you did the homework and then following up on it with something that's not on, not already out there on the website.
That's an excellent point, because if there's anything that you want to avoid doing with your questions, it's asking something that you should know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So we've done our studying. We've prepped our questions. We are now at the interview. How do you make sure you shine at the interview? What are some good ways to prep for that?
I know we're short on time, so I'm going to give you my number one. Okay, practice. And practice your communication skills. And the communication skills you need to use in an interview are different than the communication skills you use giving a class presentation or talking with your friends, any of those sorts of things. Career Services has a mock interview day typically every semester, and they may also be willing to do individual mock interviews as staff members themselves, faculty you could practice with, alums. I wouldn't necessarily recommend your friends or your family, because for one thing, your level of nerves is going to be different with those folks than with someone else, but also an interesting piece of data to share with you. We love data here at Psyched for Careers. Let me make sure I get this right. Recent national survey of college students and employers. 62% of college students said that they were well prepared in terms of their oral communication skills. 62%. The employers that they surveyed at the same time, 28% of them felt that college graduates were well prepared in terms of their oral communication skills. And so, I think that has a lot to do with just the types of oral communication that is done in the workplace versus some of the other settings you're used to. So you need to practice, you need to get feedback.
Outstanding. So I like the preparation you did for the episode. Nicely done.
Thank you.
All
Modeling.
right. Modeling, good. So yes, there you have it. Study, prep, and practice are the three themes from this episode. We're probably going to dedicate another episode of Psyched for Careers to this very topic, and we want you to ask questions or maybe even be a guest star. So let us know if you have any questions, things like that. You can comment on Facebook, you can tweet it at us, you can send us both an email.
You can even stop by and see us in person.
Whoa. Wow.
I know.
What a concept.
It is.
That is true. You could stop by and see us in person.
Yes.
All right. So thank you very much. That's going to do it for this episode of Psyched for Careers. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you, and have a great day, everyone.
Bye.